Today on Craft Table, we'll be creating our very own colorful abstract wall art. And the kids and I will be using a lot of the same supplies to create an art piece of their very own. Let's get crafting. My name is Kristin Gambaccini, and this is Craft Table. So for today's project, our abstract wall art, the first step is going to be to actually watercolor paint some fun shapes. And it's very easy to do, very simple. And I have my watercolor set here. These are very easy to find. A lot of times you can even find them at the grocery store, just the little kid watercolor sets. And that's all you need. You don't need anything fancy. You don't need anything huge. And basically all I'm doing for this step is just getting my watercolor a little wet, and I'm just painting circles on my paper. And when it comes to the paper and watercolor, you want to make sure that you're using a thicker paper. So you don't need to have paper specifically made for watercolor paints. You could use scrap paper, but traditional computer paper will not work well for this project because it'll get wet and the paper will start to kind of bend and fold and wrinkle, and that's not gonna work out for this particular project. So as you can see, I'm just getting different colors and I'm just painting random circles all around my paper. And I'll continue doing this until my paper is filled with shapes and fun colors. And if it turns out to be a little bit lighter than you wanted, the great thing about watercolor is you can always go back with a darker color and it'll mix really well. So we've made our watercolor pictures and we've let them dry, and we have all these fun circles, different colors. Great eye candy. I love looking at these just as they are. They almost remind me of bubbles. The next step is actually going to be to cut these papers out. So we're going to make these into triangles. This is totally up to you. I like using the triangles for this particular project because I like the way that they look, and it's almost like a puzzle piece trying to fit it all together at the end. But you could do squares, you could do rectangles. I mean, you could really do whatever you wanted. Typically, what I do is just hand cut it. I don't try to trace anything, and I don't try to do anything too perfect. You just cut it by hand. I am going to give you a little hint on how to do this an easier way if you're not comfortable doing it just with scissors. So this is actually a paper punch, and you can find these at the craft store. You can find them online, and it cuts out pretty large size shapes. This one's obviously a triangle. This is another option of something that you can use instead of cutting it by hand. And I'll show you how simple it is to use, because it's really just a matter of sticking it through the slot and pressing down. And not only do you have a perfect triangle, but you actually have the ability to then go in on your paper and cut your own triangle, because we want to use all of our paper. So you can go through and actually cut your own freehand triangle with the leftover paper. Again, it's just an option of something that you can do to cut your triangles or your shapes if you prefer a more uniform shape. So I'm going to keep on cutting these until I have all of my triangle pieces, and then we'll move on to the next step. So I have all of my pieces cut here, and I did a little bit of both. I did some of the triangle punch, I did some of them by hand, and you really do want to have all different sizes and shapes at the end, because it will make it easier to fill in your spaces. So once you've got them all situated and there's no right or wrong which one's going to go first, the next thing you're going to need is your backing. And this is actually just a canvas board from the craft store, but you can also use a piece of cardboard, especially if it already has a white background. No need to go and spend a lot of money on supplies, especially if you have these things already at home. You want to keep your scissors handy because we are going to kind of shape these triangles to fit where we want them to be on our board. And you'll need a crafting medium that a lot of people know it as Mod Podge. but it's actually a sealer and a glue and a top coat all in one. And this is great for a project like this because it will not take your paint off of your paper as you're using it like a lot of other mediums will once you get your paper wet. So that's the really important thing here. So I'm going to start with, I just picked up a random triangle and we're going to get a little bit of Mod Podge, and it comes in this white, it's almost like a milky color, but it dries clear. And you want to put a pretty hefty layer on the back, and you want to make sure that you are pressing down your corners. And if it starts to lift up on your board, it's okay, because we're going to be putting a top coat on, and that's going to help hold it down and seal it down onto your board or your cardboard or whatever it is that you're using. If you decide to go the cardboard route, then you'll probably want to put it in a frame. So you just want to make sure that you cut your cardboard to the size of your frame before you start Mod Podging or sealing your triangle pieces onto your board. Now, once you got your first one on, that's going to be what you go off of for your next few pieces. And by that I mean, I like to keep it kind of uniform as far as the distance between the triangles as I'm applying them onto the board. So this space, I don't know, what is that, maybe about 1/4 of an inch, and that's what I'm going to try to keep throughout the rest of this piece as I puzzle together some triangle pieces. Now here in the corner you'll see I have an opening, and the reason we're keeping our scissors handy is because I'm going to actually cut this triangle shape down so it will fit into that corner exactly how I'd like it to be. And I'm just going to eye it. It doesn't have to be perfect. These are just fun pieces for your home, and it's a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon, but it does not have to be perfect. And as you can see, if you need to trim it more, like actually I didn't cut enough off of this one, so what I'll do is I'll press it down where I need it, and then I'm going to leave this hang over here until the Mod Podge dries. And I'll actually go through and just cut this little piece off with either my scissors or a craft knife. It'll be really easy to cut once the Mod Podge dries because it makes it pretty heavy and thick on the paper. So I'm going to finish piecing off my triangles on my board, and we'll move on to the next step. So I have all of my triangles in place, and the final step is going to be to add the medium on top of all of my triangles on top of my board. And there's really no wrong way to do this. What I love about working with Mod Podge or any type of sealing medium is that you can be messy. I'm a messy crafter. I get paint everywhere. It's in my hair. It's on my face. I just cannot craft without making a mess. So if I have the ability to get it on me or around me, I will. And what I love about this medium is that it washes off with soap and water. So not only is it supposed to be thick and messy, but it's easy to clean. Now you'll see this coat actually has that milky-like color to it on the top. Don't panic, because it's actually going to dry clear and it's going to give it a really nice top. So you will not have to frame this if you don't want to. This could be made into a magnet. This could be put into a picture frame, or it can just be as it is. Now obviously for this one I did a smaller size board, but you can see with the larger one that I made, and this is the cardboard that I talked about that I put behind it. This is actually made on a piece of cardboard from an Amazon box, because we get so many Amazon boxes. I'm always trying to think of something to do with them. So this was made on an Amazon box, the exact same way I showed you here, and placed in a frame. Such a fun, colorful way to add a little pop of some summery fun into your home, and easy and inexpensive. Happy crafting! I'm here with my number 7, Rosie, and my number 8, Bash. And the reason I number them 7 and 8 is because I do have 8 kids. So these are my last 2 home with me. What we're doing today is making an art project that they can keep for themselves or gifts to a loved one, and it'll be adorable on your wall. Taking a lot of the same supplies that we used for our previous craft, I have my watercolors out here, I have some clean water, and I have our paper. And again, this is thicker paper, watercolor paper, or no. Watercolor paper or scrapbook paper, something that has a thicker feel to it, not computer paper or something that's a little bit thinner. That's not going to work for this. The next step is going to be to take our sticker paper. Now we had sticker paper for the last project that we did, and I used that same sticker paper for this. And all I did was take a piece and fold it in half, and you want to make sure that the piece you're folding in half and the piece that you're using is going to fit onto whatever paper you've decided to use for the painting. Taking a pencil, I'm just going to freehand a heart shape. I've got it folded in half. So I have this freehand art shape, and then I'm going to cut it out. Simple as that. So we're cutting out our heart shape on our sticker paper. And this is actually so simple, this project. It's going to be fast, but it's going to get them a little messy, and they're going to have a blast with it. So I have my heart here, and as you can see, I've made sure that it fits completely on the paper that we're going to be painting on. Bash's is already attached. Rosie, will have you take off the back of your sticker paper. Good. Perfect. And then we're going to line it up and press it down. Now, it's okay if actually your sticker paper has marks on it, or if you've used it for another project. Maybe you printed out a couple extra pictures from our project last time, and you can actually reuse that paper. You can actually reuse that paper because we're going to be painting over it, and then we're going to be removing it. So it doesn't matter if it's been printed on before. So Bash and Rosie each, let's get what color do you want to use, Bash? Let's move this forward. What color do you want to use? Blue?
No.
Red. And they're just going to paint all over their picture. Doesn't matter if they get it on the heart, but you want to make sure that they're filling in the whole paper as they're painting with different colors. Switch colors. You want a different one? We'll do one more color. How about this? All right. Okay, well, you can do it next time. All right, Rosie, go ahead and put it on your paper. Once the paintings are dry, you'll peel off those heart stickers, and it'll leave you with this really sweet painting. I don't know a single grandmother that wouldn't love this, but I think I'm going to keep these for myself and keep them on my kitchen counter. Happy crafting!